telling jokes, bagging the occasional pot. So I'm playing my Wednesday night league in the 1-2 game. I got knocked out of the tournament. Not having a very good night. I was into the game for like 500. I had 220 left, and then I got involved in this hand. So I am under the gun with pocket kings, and I raise it to 14. There's a caller, and it comes to my buddy Dane, who's in the small blind. He raises to 51. The next guy folds, and now I think about it. And obviously I'm not going to fold. It's now a matter of whether I raise or whether I call. I don't want to scare away a hand that's worse than mine. Dane could very well have pocket aces, so I don't want him to come back over the top. Actually, we would have probably gotten it all in anyways. And so I decided to smooth call to see if I could win a good pot. So the other player had folded, and we went to a flop. And the flop was 5 of spades, king of spades, ace of hearts, and we both checked. Again, I think the money's going to get all in. I flopped a set of kings. The money's eventually going to get in if he has a decent hand. So it didn't matter that I checked right there. All right, so the turn is the 9 of clubs. Dane checks to me. I bet 51, and he makes the call. So at this point, I'm wondering, gosh, does he have pocket aces and he's just slow playing me? I don't think he ever has. Spades here. I think he's got a big pair of some kind. So the river comes, the 5 of diamonds. Dane checks. I only have 118 left. There's 220 in the pot, so I shove all in, and he makes the fold. He showed pocket tens.
With an ace out there too.
Yes, but except for honestly, I wondered if he had pocket aces. Especially when he smooth called the 51 bet. I thought, oh crap. I really honestly thought maybe you were trapping me.
Okay, one more hand for my Wednesday night poker league. A 1-2 game. We play a little bit loose in this game, especially some of us that play a bigger game than we call with hands that we wouldn't otherwise do in a regular game. This is probably an example of one of those. So in this hand, I'm in the small blind with 9-7 of hearts. There's 2 limpers, and my buddy Dane again raises to 16 in the cutoff. Small blind folds. I make a really, really loose call. Again, we're playing 1-2, and I just want to have fun, and you never know. We like playing against our best buddies and seeing if we can't win a big good pot against them. So I called with 9-9-7. And the flop came 9-9-7. Wow. So now I'm thinking is how can I get all the money? So I checked. Dane bet 15, and I made the call. The turn is the 6 of clubs. I checked again. Dane bet 35, and of course I make the call. And finally the river, king of diamonds. I now think I need to lead out, and I lead out for 110, and Dane folds. He didn't show me, but he said that he had pocket 8s on the hand. So anyhow, I got lucky. Sometimes playing junk hands, that's where you can win your big ones. So it was a pretty good one for me. So on Saturday night, my son and I went to WinStar to play up there for a little bit. I think we got there at about 10:30. Left at, what, 4:30 in the morning? Something like that. That's pretty much typical for what we do. So we went up there. I was playing in the 2-5 game. So there's a player up at WinStar named Mason who is pretty famous up there for his ultra loose aggressive play. He's a regular up there. Good guy. I've talked to him before. I had never played with him before though. So this was my first opportunity to play with him. And so Mason has been known to shove all in pre-flop without looking at his cards. He'll show his cards. So in fact, when we were playing, he had a hand that was Queen 7, shoves all in for like $600, comes all the way to the last player. Everybody else had folded. The guy folded Ace Jack, which is kind of interesting. So I guess, what do they say? No gamble, no future. So anyhow, in this hand, I'm playing against Mason. So There's an under the gun limp for $5. I'm under the gun +1 with pocket sevens. I don't want to give Mason any incentive to shove all in, so I'm just going to limp also and hope that he just raises instead of shoves. It comes around to him and he makes it 25. The blinds both fold. Scott, the solid player on my left or right, makes the call, and I make the call. Now, I will say up to this time, Mason actually hadn't been getting out of line at all. I just knew his reputation. So he'd been playing a solid game up to this point. Anyhow, the flop came 7 ace ace. Wow. Scott, the end of the gun player, checked. I checked, and Mason bet 25. Under the gun folded, and I made the call. The turn is another 7. Wow. I lead out for 25, and unfortunately, Mason folds. So, I don't think there's any way I'm getting any more money there, even if I check. I suppose he could take a stab at it, but I don't think he hadn't played with me much. He never played with me before, and being an older guy, we never bluff, right? So, I'm sure he thought when I called the 25 that I probably had an ace. So, I don't think I was getting any more money anyways. I turned over my cards at the end and said, man, I wish I would have had pocket aces. We'd have won a bad beat jackpot of, what, 28,000 or something. Anyhow, so good hand early on. Didn't make much money on it, but it's always kind of fun to get quads. So in this next hand, there's a straddle to $10 from an older player who had been hitting absolutely everything. So there was a limper for 10. I look down at ace king of spades from the cutoff. I make it 40. It folds back to the straddler, and he makes the call, and the limper folds. The flop is queen of spades, jack of spades, 7 of diamonds. So I flop a straight flush draw. Wow. The older player checks. I bet 55, and he folds. I think it's right to bet in that situation, even though I have a monster draw, because it still is only a draw. So if he folds, then at least I win a decent pot. If he calls, I got plenty of equity. Okay, so the outcome of nearly every session that you play comes down to, maybe 1, 2, 3 hands and how you played those hands. And this, the outcome of my session from Saturday pretty much was determined by this next hand. Okay, so I am under the gun with ace of clubs, 9 of diamonds. I have about $480. I raised to 20. A caller in middle position, caller in the cutoff, and then a good solid player named Scott, who's in the small blind, makes the call, and the big blind makes the fold. The flop is 9 of hearts, 8 of diamonds, 4 of diamonds. Scott checks. I make it 35. The other 2 players fold, and Scott in the small blind makes the call. The turn is the 6 of diamonds, bringing 3 diamonds on board. Scott checks. I check behind. Not so sure if this is a mistake or not. What kind of hands could he have here? He could have trapping me with diamonds. He could have had 10 jack. He could have just had a 9. He's pretty wide on the range, but when he checks that, he probably does not have diamonds. I mean, he could be trapping. He probably doesn't have an ace or king of diamonds. I still have top pair. I have a diamond. I probably should have bet. So the river's a very interesting card. It's the ace of diamonds. Scott leads out for 80. So I think, now Scott's a good player. He knows that he knows I showed weakness by checking behind. I think that he showed weakness by checking. And now he could have been trapping me with diamonds. Other than that, I don't think he has a big diamond. I think if he had the king of diamonds or the queen of diamonds, he probably would have bet the turn, hoping that I didn't have diamonds and he could get me off the hand. So I don't think he has a big diamond here. So when he leads out for 80, what do I think he has? I have top 2. I also have a 9 of diamonds. Could he be doing this with a small diamond? Maybe. I just don't think he has a big diamond. So, anyhow, I ended up making the call for 80, which in retrospect I think is an error. So he ended up having the 10 of diamonds. He had 9-10 with the 10 of diamonds, and he won the pot. So I've thought about this a lot, and I think if I don't think that he has a big diamond here, if he makes a bet, I think I should come over the top every single time and represent having the king of diamonds, maybe the queen of diamonds. If he, I do have top 2, and I realize that's probably a bluff catcher, but I don't think that he has a big diamond very often here. And I think that if I had come over the top, I don't think he could have called me with his 10 of diamonds. So, again, these kind of hands are the ones that make or break your session. I don't like the way I played this one. I don't like the way I played it on the turn. I don't like the way I played it on the river either. And then I lost, so I got rewarded for how I played, I guess. So it was about 2 in the morning. I wasn't doing very good. I was down $300 or something like that. And my son was playing at the 1-2 table. So I thought, you know what? I'll go over there and have some fun, get to watch him play a little bit, and we'll see what happens over there. So the 1-2 table does not have a whole lot of real good players. The guy to my right is pretty decent. My son's a good player. Most of them were not really very good players. So there was a hand where I am under the gun +1 with queen of diamonds, 6 of clubs, and there's a $4 straddle on the guy to my right, who's a pretty decent player. He has $550. I have $650. So anyhow, I call the $4, and it ends up calling all the way around 8 players at $4. And the flop comes ace of hearts, 6 of hearts, queen of clubs. It's checked to the straddler. He makes it 15. I have bottom 2. I make it 35. It folds all the way back around to the original player. He makes it, the straddler, he makes it 135. Ooh, and now I go into the tank. So thinking about this logically, what could he possibly have? Can he have aces? Nope. Can he have queens? Nope. Can he have ace queen? No. Can he have ace 6? Possible, but I think that this player is good enough that if he's in the straddle and has an ace, he's going to bet. Could he have pocket 6s? I don't think so. I think same thing. If he has pocket 6s, I think he's betting. I mean, I give him a small percentage of having ace 6 or pocket 6s. Could he have queen 6? Yeah, although I take queen 6 away also, so not as many combinations. Could he have hearts? Possibly. He could have hearts. He's always aggressive enough that he could have hearts. Could he have ace 10? I doubt it. He's going to raise from his straddle, probably with any ace. So I don't think he has aces. So it comes down to, I think he either has a heart draw, or could be a combo draw, or queen 6. Well, I want to put as much pressure on as possible if those are the outcomes he has. So I shove all in for 650. And now it comes back to him, and he tanks for the longest time. So he tanks and tanks and tanks, and finally he makes the call. And he turns over queen 6 also. So the turn was a queen, and I think the river was a 2, and we ended up chopping the pot. But it was a very, very interesting. Definitely had to think about this one. I like the way I played it. The only thing I do think about, boy, I'm risking a lot if he happened to have the small percentage where he has ace 6 or pocket 6s. But I also like the fact that if he has a heart draw, boy, I'm putting a lot of pressure on.
What to do? One, especially May. Helping underprivileged corporations get much needed capital.
45.
You still maintain your license though?
Yeah. I keep it active. I used to keep my California and New York licenses active. I'll let them lapse.
Okay, so I'm still stacking my chips from the last hand, and the very, very next hand, I am under the gun with 9-10 of spades. I raised to 14. Again, I play pretty aggressive when I'm in these 1-2 games because the money doesn't mean that much to me. So, and I like to try to be table captain. It's kind of fun. So anyhow, I raised to 14. Not a very good player in the cutoff calls, button calls, and our pretty decent player to my right makes the call. The flop is ace of spades, 7 of spades, 8 of spades. So I flopped a flush and a straight flush draw. So it's check to me. I bet 30. The not very good player who started the hand with 140 raises to 60. The button folds. My decent player to my right, he thinks for a long time, like 2 minutes. He says, oh my gosh, am I going to get involved in another one of these hands? And eventually folds. I shoved. The guy's only got $50-some left. He makes the call. The board runs out. 9 of hearts, 4 of spades, which I didn't like. And he ended up having ace-9. So I won the pot.
It's your move.
He kind of perfected it. It was almost like it.
You got one, Jack? $5? Oh, the $5.
Okay, so it's about 4:15 in the morning. It's time to go. The table's going to break. So we played one last hand, and my son is under the gun and raises to 12. I'm in the middle position. I have ace of spades, 8 of hearts, so I make the call, and then 2 other players make the call. So the flop comes 3 diamonds, ace of hearts, 6 of clubs. There's a check, and then my son bets 25. I snap call with my ace. He could have me beat here, but my son likes to mix it up a little bit, so I think he might be messing around a little bit. The other 2 players fold. The turn is the jack of spades. Billy bets 40, and I beat him into the pot with my $40. Again, I think that maybe he's fooling around, although it's making me a little bit nervous. So the river is the 9 of diamonds. So Billy stops and he thinks for a minute, and he says, Dad, fold your ace-10, you're beat. But he cannot pull the trigger, and he ends up checking. I checked behind with my ace-8, and Billy showed 7 deuce. Now that's a chip off the old block right there. So I like what he was trying to do, but if he thinks I'm weak, he should have triple barreled. Because he said, if I had bet 125 there, you're folding, aren't you? I said, absolutely, I'm folding. I have 1 pair, and I would have thought that you actually had a decent ace, because he normally plays pretty solid hands. Every once in a while, he'll mix it up, though. So anyhow, it was a WWE SmackDown for Billy Jr. Yeah, baby.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 20, 40, 50, 80, 85, 89.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So kind of humble beginnings for the Mr. Bill poker vlog, but I finally went over 10,000 views. It took about 3 months. I started this in this early December of 2017. It's now early March of 2018. Went over 10,000 views. So like I said, meager compared to a lot of the other vloggers, but most of mine are homegrown kind of folks. In fact, all my friends, I got old friends, man. They don't know how to use the computer. I'm lucky they can even see my videos. You know who you are, you old guys. So I had to find other people to like my vlog other than my old friends. So anyhow, thank you very much for liking and subscribing, and I hope you guys are getting some value, and I hope you're having fun, because I'm having fun. So all right, thank you guys. I will see you all next time.